Okay, I'm Rumplestiltskin, and I am looking at a Dr. Lippett's framework for managing complex change. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is, well, I'm just going to give you the points in his model, okay? So it starts off, is the new vision statement compelling enough to inspire action from current and new partners and stakeholders? Question mark. Skills. What skills need to be strengthened with staff and board to bring about the change? Question mark. Incentives. What incentives and measurements need to be in place to achieve each goal? Question mark. Resources. What resources are missing? How can additional resources be raised or earned sustainably? Action plan. Does the strategic plan we're developing together give you a clear roadmap for the next 3 to 5 years? Question mark. Will you be able to follow this action plan without getting distracted? Question mark. Okay. Um, Moving along. Okay, the vision statement. Let's see what it's going to be. I have to just. I'm doing my stretches. It's because I've got a lot of tension in my back and my hips especially, so I've got this roller ball thing. It's not a roller ball, it's a roller. See, it's got a end and then it's like this, and it's made of foam. I mean, I have a roller ball, this one that I can use, but this one is a new one that my physiotherapist put me on to. And what you do is you just roll on it. Now, if you put it down, close to, like you're just above your pelvis, then you can really get your hips to stretch if you turn your legs. I don't know how well I'm getting a camera on this, it's hard. But this is one place that I like to do, and strangely what happens is that it makes your belly very kind of flat, which everybody wants a flat belly. And then you can roll with it, baby, and you can roll onto your side. Kind of hard to show you, but I can roll onto my side and really, just iron out. Oh my god, it's like unbelievable. I've got this spot on my backbone. When I roll on it, it feels like I've got a steamroller. Just, oh, it feels like it hurts. It really hurts. There's a spot that it's just, I don't know if you can see where this spot is here, but that's the spot where it is. It's like right there, my back of my hips, and it, like, I'm ironing it, and it's just like, oh, it's a very sore spot on both sides. If I do it this way too, it's like this one spot. It's like, oh my god, it's like it's painful, but it's good too. It's like feels like it needs to be ironed about 1,000,000 times. It's so tight in there. Oh my god, it's almost painful. But anyways, okay, so Rumpelstiltskin is my associate. He's a person who trying to help me get moving on our vision. We've got a collective vision, and there's actually more than one vision, and this is the problem with this model, is like we've got more than one vision, and we've got more than one person on our team, and some of them are totally disinterested, and we're trying to kick them off the team, but they won't leave. It's very frustrating because not only do they not want to participate in our thing, but they come and distract our team members. It's like basically they want to pull them out to the bar, get them loaded and so drunk that they're puking. And it's like, why can't we get rid of them? Well, they're kind of like old friends, not my friends, but friends of other members of my team that it's very difficult to explain that the members of my team were assigned to me. I didn't pick not even one of them. So, so the question of me like kicking them off the team, all I can say they don't care because they're assigned to me because They're very slow people. I mean, obviously, if they'd rather go get drunk, puking drunk at the bar, they're very slow. Now, I'm going to liken them to there was an old TV show in like the 1970s, 1980s on NBC. It was called Baba Black Sheep or Black Sheep Squadron. And it was the story of Pappy Boyington, Greg Boyington, who was a major in the Marines in World War II. And no one say he had an alcohol problem. He did, and he wrote a book about it after the war, which was the basis of how this TV show came about. But besides being an alcoholic, he was a rule breaker, and he wouldn't let, if he had his vision, and his vision was basically he wanted to lead a top-notch fighter squadron, and he was very creative in the things that he did. And, well, who was he allowed to pick from? Well, basically all the other pilots that were already assigned. So the only ones left for him to form his squadron out of were ones like him, alcoholics. They were all alcoholics. And not only that, they were brawlers, and they were known, a lot of them, to go and assault their senior officers. In other words, if you were like a lieutenant, you would be assaulting a major or higher or something, or a captain or something. So these people, a lot of them were even locked up and in the brig, and they were pilots, but they had all these personal problems, and they were the only ones that were available. And for Greg Boyington, this was not an issue because he'd spent his whole life in the bar, and he knew how to handle people who were like barflies. So basically, this is the ones that he could have, and so he took them. He basically bailed them all out of jail, military jail, and he had to go. And well, then this is the issue: is that they had, not only did they like to fight senior officers, they wanted to fight each other constantly. So how do you build a vision? And so he was they called him Pappy because he was way older than most of the people in the squadron. I would say would be 20s and 30s, and Greg Boyington would easily be in his 40s at the time. So let's see. So anyway, this is what I've got. I've got these people that have been assigned to me by, I'm not going to even tell you, but I can't disassign them to me. That these are the ones, and they like to think of themselves as being modeled on the 214 Black Sheep Squadron. And Black Sheep are basically ones who are outcasts from regular people. They're proud to be outcasts. They don't like regular people. And so this is the squadron, and these people that are assigned to me are also of this nature. Now the thing is that we've got some visions that we want to do, and a lot of them are sort of like, we've heard this before, and we're not on board with going on this at all. So they're not buying into this vision. Their vision is basically spending day after day at the bar. So, and I can't do anything about that. I mean, the details are just the details, and I'm not going to go into it other than to say these are the ones assigned to me, and I can't kick them off the team, and so we have to go through the rest of this model. Okay, so basically we have multiple visions of what we want to do, and I'm not going to elaborate on the visions right now. I'm just going to go through and talk about the other items on here. But we do have some visions that we wanted to implement. And okay, so the next thing is, what skills need to be strengthened with the staff and board to bring about change? Well, we don't really have a board, but the board is basically, so let's say we're not even going to go with the board, because they don't like senior people. I mean, if you start saying to them, like, you're on the board, they're going to just go and spit in your face. So if you want to get spit in your face or kicked in the, in the crotch, this is what's going to happen. So you don't want to be even telling them that you're It's just not. This is not working. This is not a corporate group. This is a bunch of black sheep. Okay. Now let's see. So what skills need to be strengthened with the staff to bring about change? Well, this is a huge quest of ours. Is basically the skills are. I mean, when Greg Boyington brought these pilots in, they were all trained pilots. They already knew how to fly planes. So I mean, they could, if you got them in the air, then they could get practice and they could tighten up their formations. And Greg Boyington was a very skilled pilot, and he could look at them and see where they were weak, and give them pep talks and things. So as far as this group that I'm working with, what skills need to be strengthened? I'm going to come back to that, but I'm basically just going to, okay, we're going to move on. The next one is incentives. What incentives and measurements need to be in place to achieve each goal? Okay, well, incentives are, what is something that is going to incent these people that have been assigned to me? Well, I mean, if you figure a bunch of barflies, and I don't have control over their alcohol consumption, just so you know. I'm telling you, I have got my hands tied behind my back with this group, so I can't cut off the booze, number one. I'm a very small person, okay? Like, Boyington was a small person. He was, he was played by Robert Conrad in the TV show. He wasn't tall, but he was, he was quite muscular. He was a little pistol. I'm not, I'm not somebody that can throw around a 250-pound fat barfly. I'm not that way. I'm not into judo. So it's not going to be something where I'm going to be able to physically do any kind of incentives like, pushing them that way. What else things do they like to do? Well, I think there's a little bit of, they used to do like noogies on, like, I'm not even allowed to say Bill Cosby anymore, but the Cosby show, if they played cards, then the person that lost at cards, what they would do is they'd take their knuckles and they'd go like this on the person that lost. So there's a bit of like, they keep track of, like who's that kind of thing, I think. And, like if they are chewed out by all the other ones, then they go and mope in the corner. So, I mean, there is a certain amount that if the whole team decides that it's their turn to pick on you, then I mean the person being picked on, they might fight a little bit. Usually they just run away. They don't have a lot of courage. They don't have a lot of courage if they're. So I mean that a skill would have to be building bravery, courage, internal fortitude. So those skills are the main ones that they need, and self-reliance, because they basically rely on the bartender to go, and they don't even clean up the bar. It's disgusting. It hasn't been cleaned. Oh my God. And the bathrooms are disgusting. The bartender is busy, and I don't think they even tip the bartender. It's like the bartender basically does it just because he's always done it. But these other ones, they won't sweep up. They won't clean their boots off. They don't take a bath. They're horrible people. But these are the slow ones, and they've been assigned to me. So anyway, those are the incentives. Basically, their incentive is not to get chewed out by the rest of them. That's basically the thing. Measurements. How are you going to measure them? Well, they've got good memories. Despite their alcoholism, they remember everything, and they'll bring it up, something from way in the past. They'll drag it up. And then who do they usually drag it? It's mostly about, they won't tell me their backgrounds. They're very tight-lipped, but they know everything about me. So I mean, but sometimes they will, amongst themselves, they will bring things up. It's a hard team. I've been assigned a very hard task. Okay, so as far as measuring it, that they know, okay, they just know, they keep track of these things. Okay, the next one is resources. What resources are missing? Question mark. How can additional resources be raised or earned sustainably? Well, what resources are missing? Hmm. I don't even know. I think that basically the resources are basically they're beings. I mean, they don't even like to be called human. They prefer to be called black sheep, or I'm not even going to tell you the other one because it's embarrassing to them. But their resources are basically what you would call human resources, and in other words, they other things are. I don't know if we've got like a Radar O'Reilly from MASH or Corporal Klinger from MASH who was like a scrounger kind of person that can go and get things. I mean, I can go and get things, but our budget is very small and we have to, we have a very small budget. So as far as buying resources, no. We go to things like the cheapest places we can, secondhand places, and that's basically the resources that we got. We go to the public library, we get library books, and like if we go and look at books online, we go to Amazon and download a sample of the books. We used to buy them, and I used to freak out because I'd get a huge bill at the end of the month on my credit card, and I'd go like, we don't even use these books, and we got them here, and finally, I put my foot down and I said, no more of this. I can't afford to do this. And they won't kick in any money because they're all, I'm serious, they won't kick in. And you know what? They won't, it's just a dead issue, okay? So how can additional resources be raised or earned sustainably? Well, it's a big question mark for me. I don't know. This doesn't seem to be happening. So I'm going to have to skip on to the next one. Action plan. Does the strategic plan we're developing together give you a clear roadmap for the next 3 to 5 years? Question mark. And then it's, will you be able to follow this action plan without getting distracted? Well, as I said, we've got multiple visions. Strategic plan. I mean, he doesn't even include strategic plan in this map. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4. It's the 5th item on this agenda. It's the action plan, and then he starts calling it the strategic plan. So I guess the strategic plan, like normally what you would have is a strategic plan, and then you'd have a tactical plan. A strategic plan is like a really big picture of it all, and then the tactical plan is like you breaking it down to little bite-sized bits. So he's not even doing that, and he's going 3 to 5 years, and this is way too long to look way out that far. So I don't like this plan. 3 to 5 years is way too long. Like 3 to 5 months is like even a stretch. I'm talking about 3 to 5 days. What are we going to do for 3 to 5 days? Okay. So anyways, does it give us a clear roadmap? No. Once in a blue moon, we'll make a plan for a few days out for like hardly anything. We don't do this. This plan here is basically, I don't know if you can see I hope you can see this here. I'll zoom in a little bit. It's very difficult. But, this plan is basically everything that we say on this channel not to do, because this is old school. And the reason we don't do it is because there's no room in here for synchronicity and serendipity. It doesn't say anything here about synchronicity or serendipity. So this is old school. It's all using your intellectual mind. And, we don't work this way. So is there anything from this thing that we can even say is useful? Well, we have visions. And where did we get the visions? We didn't make, like some people say, well, you've got to imagine things. Imagine means image in. We don't do that. That is something, I don't know who came up with this. It doesn't make any sense to any of us. Because visions come to us. It's like various times, I'll close my eyes and then I'll get visions. Or I'll wake up in the middle of the night or just before I go to bed and I'll get visions. And then as far as like a lot of these visions have come from like spiritual teachers that I've read in the past. And, as Rumplestiltskin, I have written down some of these visions, So basically, I'm going to have to tell you that this whole lecture about what this guy has put out, and he's put it on LinkedIn for everybody to read. It's, what was his name? Dr. Lippitt. Dr. Lippitt, okay? And Dr. Mary Lippitt from 1987. Okay, so, I mean, this is an old model from, this was so ancient, and it doesn't work for us at all, and this is what is going around. Now, the only other interesting thing is that in this model, if you're missing certain elements, then, depending on what you're missing, it's either going to, if you've got all these pieces according to this model, you'll get change. If you're missing a vision, you're going to get confusion. If you're missing skills, you're going to get anxiety. If you're missing, what is this one? Okay, incentives. If you're missing incentives, you're going to get resistance. If you're missing resources, you're going to get frustration. And if you're missing an action plan, you're going to get false starts. Now, this part I like because, well, we do get confusion, anxiety, resistance, frustration, and false starts. Do we get change, which is like success? Well, we haven't reached our plans. But we get all of these human emotions, but then we throw them away. And it's not me going to the bar and getting drunk. Maybe they do, other members of the team, but I don't. But sometimes I yell and shout to various people because I've definitely got confusion, anxiety, resistance, frustration, and false starts. But there's times when I'm in total flow, when I feel like, wow, I'm getting really feeling good. And so I feel like we're on the right path. So when that happens, it goes back to what I'm talking about. Synchronicity, in other words, meaningful coincidence happens, and serendipities are basically just good luck. Good luck things fall into your lap. So, these other things come about, confusion, anxiety, resistance, frustration, and false starts. They come about because it's like, impatience. It's mostly impatience. So if I have a fault, it's impatience. And why is it impatience? Because it seems to be taking a very long time and we have to do an awful lot of work. Doesn't mean if you're like working with synchronicity and serendipity and a vision, doesn't mean you don't do any work. You still do, maybe even more work, believe it or not. Constantly working on these projects from the time I wake up till the time I go to bed to the time I wake up, or some nights I'm up all night long working on these projects. So it's not like it's a 9-to-5 job. It is a full-time job, no time off, never any time off. Even if I'm off at, like the karaoke that we like to do, that when I'm there, if I'm not singing, I'm working on the project. So, this is like definitely dedicated. The other thing that we want to talk about is unlike most of the people in businesses whose business planning is all about, in the end, making the shareholders money, which means that the CEO and the board make a lot of money, and then maybe a trickle-down raise to the people actually doing the work. This is not the kind of projects that I'm working on. I am working on projects for its service to the whole. In other words, it's not a little group of people and their little business and we're trying to make the little business successful. No, it's not that kind of a vision. Is it non-profit? Well, yes, it's a non-profit business. And, it's funded by me, and the other ones basically contribute their time and effort when they're in the mood. So, it's a very different kind of a model, and you can see why we get frustrated because, we used to talk about Ken Kesey. Have I got the book? Let me see if I've got the book here. Let's see. Here's the book. Oh my God, I just found something. This is the book I want you to examine. It's called The Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test, and it's actually Tom Wolfe. It's next to my book by Ken Kesey. So can you see this here? Yeah. Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test. And you can see down here in the bottom, this is the bus, and the bus is called Further. It's a day glow bus, and not much on the back. Tom Wolfe. The bus is called Further, and they used to always say to one another, are you on the bus or off the bus? And if you're on the bus, you're on the team, working with the team. And if you're off the bus, it meant your mind was somewhere else. And, they basically said, if you're off the bus, get off the bus. I mean, either you're with us or you're not. So, Tom Wolfe, Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test. Okay. And he did have some dealings with Kesey, and that's the book that's next to him. I haven't read this book. This book is called Demon Box, Ken Kesey. He was very famous because they made a Jack Nicholson movie after his book, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So you've probably heard of that. It's an old Nicholson movie, and it's kind of like very funny, and then it gets really like sad and depressing in the end, but I won't give you the spoilers. You can look it up. Okay, so do I have anything else I want to talk to you about? If you're going to do a project like mine, which is basically servicing the whole, well, you can do it the other way, Dr. Mary Lippitt's model. Go ahead if you want to go and play by, old school ways. But if you want to do something adventurous and you want to, basically you're letting the universe come in and participate. You're not going and creating, these little silos that have to be filled one by one in order to get ahead. Now, no one says that the old models didn't work in the day, but as far as making really major change in the world, these models won't work. Why won't they work? Because they've been tried. These are old models. They're based upon the intellect, the rational mind. And they don't work. I mean, look at our society today. Everything we've got today is based upon this rational intellectual mind. And I say it's a failure because, well, it is. I mean, you look around, and are people really doing things that they want to do? Are they sort of roped into doing jobs in order to pay for their debts and bills? That's the way it is. It's, anyways. So, to do it this way, you have a vision. But you don't go and write down a bunch of things that are like, I need to have I don't know, I need to have a building or something, and in our vision we're going to have a building, and then in our vision we're going to produce widgets. It's not a widget producing business kind of a thing, It's the visions are given to you to begin with. They're it's not like using I don't know, a catalog or something of existing franchises. I mean, these exist, franchise businesses that people have come up with that you can buy, and you buy the franchise, and then they give you a operating manual, and basically this is how you run the business. This is not about that. It's not about that. This is about really big visions. I mean, changing the way the whole world runs is a huge thing. So the visions, you're not going to get it out of a franchise magazine and say, okay, well, I've done my part at changing the world because I opened up a carbon copy of a Kentucky Fried Chicken named, Joe's Chicken Shack or something. No, this is not the kind of thing. This is about changing the whole shebang. And where did these visions come from? They come from the source of it all, okay? And they shanghaied me to do it. And then they said, okay, and then plus you got to work with all these black sheep, these other ones. So, I mean, why did that happen? I think it's to show you that, if you're inspired by the source, all that is, to do these things, it's going to show you that this stuff can and will get done, because it's the intent of the whole shebang that this happens. And it's going to show you that despite having all your hands tied behind your back, it's going to work. And you can see it because you get the coincidences and you get the serendipities. And if you go on one of these programs, you'll get frustrated. That's part of the game, because you got to deal with these other beings that are maybe not on board your bus, but you're going to still see the synchronicities and the serendipities, and you're going to see these things happen, and you're going to know these are the signs. I see the signs. And anyway, it doesn't cut me any slack. In other words, it doesn't give me any off ramp where I can get off this program and go and party in the Caribbean for a month, no, it's not that kind of thing. I don't have an off ramp, and I don't have other doors opening that says, okay, here's another offer where they're gonna give me a corporate job and pay me a lot of money. And no one say that I'm not qualified. I'm very qualified for corporate work, and I've done corporate work. But this isn't, the universe has closed all those doors, and it's focusing me on this. It makes it difficult with other humans, people that I know. It makes it very difficult because they don't understand why I'm not pursuing corporate America. I can talk to them and they look at me. It's like, you must send me to the psychiatrist or something. This is the way it is. And these kind of people, that tell me these things, they're called 3D people. Now, this is basically coming from, well, the people, you can go on YouTube and you can look up, usually they call it 5D. In other words, the world is moving from an old paradigm of 3D to 5D. And, other words for it are like the fifth dimension. And that was the old song by the Fifth Dimension Band in the late 60s. It was called The Dawning of the Age of Aquarius. So it's a golden age, and it's about complete change, getting rid of capitalism, getting rid of money, getting rid of elite people who are living and not working and owning everything, getting rid of all that stuff and sharing the land. No one owns the land. It's stewardship. So in other words, it's everything is basically you're going to tear down all the fences, and you're going to let the buffalo roam again. Basically, we're not going to be going and everything that we do now is going to be changed. How do I know? Because I've got the vision, and I didn't go and just start, picking out from catalogs. This is the vision. I had some information that came to me from spiritual books, and but other things came. Rumplestiltskin has given me some other things that were, on the agenda. And in the end, I mean, I shouldn't be like looking like I'm moping because this stuff. I mean, I should be jumping. Why aren't I? Because I got a bad cold. I've got a bad. I mean, even working on this, it means you still have to work when you. I've had a 2 week cold, really, really bad, and my eyes are like itchy and I'm sore all over and I'm coughing and it doesn't matter. I'm still working on all this stuff. So how are you going to get onto one of these things? Well, as I say in all of my videos, you got to go and meditate. What does meditate mean? It means you have to get away from other humans, go into a quiet room. I mean, I've got, what is that, AC/DC? I've got Thunderstruck playing, but I could meditate to this. You might not be able to, but, I'm not going to say you can't, but, you know, you have to spend time alone. Whether you're lying on a couch or you're lying in your bed, you close the door and you get away from other people, other distractions. You don't watch television. You don't watch, a million episodes of something on Netflix. No. You don't go, if you're going to the bar, you're not drinking. You're not. It's not about going and getting drunk. It's not about going out and, becoming some Lothario and playing around, playing the field. No. It's, it's not going on cruise ships and, filling your face at the all-you-can-eat buffet and, hobnobbing with whoever's there. It's not about that. And your own individual thing will come to you. But basically, you've got to every day unplug from the world for at least an hour and probably more. Maybe go for a drive by yourself. Go get a box of, carbonated water or bottled water and put it in a pack sack and put it next to you and drink lots of water and drive around and see where you go. And sometimes have the radio on and sometimes not if you like to play. Just see what happens with your intuition, and see what happens. But you have to disconnect from the idea that you're all about getting rich. It's not about getting rich. We're getting rid of capitalism. I say it time and time again. And the 3D capitalist people look at me like, what are you talking about? You got to have a house, you got to have cars, you got to have a pension, you got to have medical plans, you got to have all this stuff, you got to have all this stuff. And I look at them time and again, and like I got a cold, and they're like constantly, so you got to go see the doctor. No, I'm not going to the doctor because I've got a cold. I'm not. It's why do I know? Because I know what I have to do. Once you're laser focused on what you need to do, people tell me this, and I'm like, just move on. I'm not going to talk about it. It's not open for discussion. I'm not going to see the doctor. I've got other things that I'm working on, and so that's what it's all about. Meditate, disconnect from everything, disconnect from the corporate agendas, thinking that you've got to go and be like someone's golden person and, like work extra hours for the corporation or whatever. No. Well, and you might say, well, I have to have some money coming in to pay my rents and things. Meditate, disconnect. Instead of going out with your friends to party and drink a couple of magnums of wine, turn them down. Stay at home by yourself and keep doing it. And you will, when you meditate and you spend time by yourself, and maybe you've got some memories of some whatever you want to touch on. I'm not talking about watching hours of Netflix. No, you're not going to sit there and watch Netflix. You're going to sit there with the TV off. And you could have some light music if you sometimes, but maybe to start with, not even anything, just a quiet room. And you go sit in your room. You can lie down there or lie on the couch. You could go for a drive. You could go for a walk. But you have to disconnect from everything to do with modern corporate world. I've said it 1,000 times. I'm going to keep saying it. If you want to get ahead in the new earth, this is how you do it. The old ways, you got to throw them away. And the sooner you disconnect, the sooner you're going to get on the new bus. What's the advantage of getting on the old bus? Sooner or later, you're going to be pulled off the old bus. How's it going to happen? You're going to get sick. Number one thing that's going to happen is you're going to get sick. If you're a corporate lawyer, you're going to get really, really sick. And you're not going to be able to work anymore. You're going to start calling in sick because you're going to get viciously, violently ill. Or you're going to get in a nasty car accident. And you're going to get laid up in the hospital with a broken leg. Something bad is going to happen to you. I'm not cursing you. I'm just saying either you do it my way voluntarily, disconnect from the corporate world, and go and if you do it that way, you might get a cold or whatever, but you're going to have different kinds of things happen to you. I'm not saying it's going to be beautiful, whatever the path is, but if you continue to go down the path, la 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 la, I gotta have my fancy wines, my fancy restaurant dinner, my fancy pants friends. I've got to go travel the world 3 times a year. I got to suck up to the president of the corporation. Something is going to happen. And it's going to be a huge shock to your system. It's going to be one of these whap on the side of the head. The other way you could look at it is what they always say. That hurt, by the way. I did that on purpose and it hurt. So, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt. And the whole thing is, I've said it before many times on these videos, the pain, there's a reason for the pain you're going to be in. It's to wake you up. The pain is to wake you up. And what is waking up? It means disconnect from the corporate slave state. Stop being a minion. You can do it voluntarily. There used to be an old commercial. It was a mechanic who said, you can come in and do regular maintenance. Or you can not do your regular maintenance. And he kind of looked at the camera and shook his head. He said, basically, with regular maintenance, you can pay me now. Or you can wait till your car breaks down, and then he slams the cash register door shut, and he says, and you can pay me later. In other words, it's going to cost you way more in the long run if you don't do your regular maintenance. Because then you're going to have a major malfunction. It's going to cost a lot of money to fix your car. It's the same way. If you disconnect now voluntarily, you will be able to ease your way into the new way of doing things. But if you wait for something major to whap you on the side of the head, either you're going to get sick or an accident, or your wife is going to leave you, or something is going to happen, and it's going to turn your whole world upside down. I guarantee it. You are going to have your whole world ripped out from under you, and you're going to go, what just happened? Everything was just so beautiful. I had everything just going so well for myself. Everything was planned out to a T. And then this happened, and out of the blue, everything has changed. Now, the other thing I was going to say, in the old days, they used to interview people on their deathbeds, and they used to say, what would you have changed about your life? And most of them would say, well, I spent too much time at work and not enough time with my friends and family. So there's one thing. I mean, even in the old culture, everyone there that on their deathbeds, they said way too much time spending, slaving for the corporate state. So, I mean, even in 3D, that's what you're looking forward to on your deathbed, saying, oh my God, I spent way too much time working for the man. Okay? So, anyway, meditate for an hour a day. Start off that way, even if you're working. Maybe start that way. Continue with your job for now. But cancel all your big party plans for Friday and Saturday night. Cancel them. Instead of going to these parties, on being out all the hours and then being hungover the next day, you got to get out of that. You know, and if your family wants you to go drag you off to whatever, you're gonna have to say no. No, you go, you know, give them $50 for cab and say, I'm not driving you. Here is $50. You go on your own. Get out of my hair. Don't bug me. Don't text me. Turn off your phone. Turn off your phone because texting is horrible. It'll drag you away from your meditation. You have to go get away from it all. Basically, close your eyes and go within. All right, there you go. There's your update.